As The Athletic originally reported, it was apparent that a shared goal of finding a way to finish the NBA season is a common denominator among players and executives. Of course, this would be without fans, which is awkward, but at the end of the day, basketball is basketball. Yes, it might be weird watching games where there is no crowd involvement at all, but at least we'll be able to watch new NBA games on TV, which is what everyone wants. I mean, right now we're watching Horse on ESPN. I don't know how things have gotten this low. Anyway, going back to the return of the NBA, to quote one anonymous NBA player, basketball guys are for it, they want to play, which means the players are on board, the executives are on board, and the owners are definitely on board because they are losing a ton of money over this. And because of all of those factors, I am optimistic that the NBA is going to return, especially because it appears that the NBA does have a rough draft of a plan in place already. Because when the NBA returns, it appears that the games are all going to be played in one city, and right now, Las Vegas is the top candidate for this city. As even though Las Vegas does not have an NBA team, there are enough hotels and basketball facilities to make this scenario a realistic possibility. One potential roadblock, though, is the number of test kits that will be necessary to make sure that none of the players have the coronavirus. As experts reported today, testing for the coronavirus must double or triple the number of test kits that are currently available before businesses are able to reopen in America on a mass scale. That, of course, means that test kits are still in high demand, and yes, you might think that the NBA is able to get these test kits with ease, but due to the backlash that the Utah Jazz received when they got all the test kits in the beginning of this pandemic, the NBA is actually hesitant to take a ton of test kits because they're afraid of the public backlash. With that said, NBPA Vice President Garrett Temple spoke on the importance of these test kits being readily available, stating, "I feel comfortable enough that the league will have it under control to where we can play if all the players are negative." So that of course brings up the question, what if the NBA is able to get enough test kits and from there are able to make sure that everyone who is participating in their games and practices are testing negative? Well, right now there are some extremely unique scenarios being presented. For example, one team owner told The Athletic that there could be a month of training camp during June, then the season would resume in early July, and the finals would be played in early October. That is pretty insane, seeing as the NBA usually begins their season around late October. So if that were the case, we'd have to assume that next year's NBA season is going to be pushed back a little bit. Meanwhile, Brian Windhorst of ESPN also reported that the league is potentially looking at a 25-day window to start up basketball again. This 25-day window would have 11 days for individual workouts and a 14-day training camp. And we have to remember that these 25 days are very important because no matter how hard these guys are training on their own, being in NBA basketball shape is very, very different. And I also have to say, I really don't think that every single one of the players right now is working as hard as they should be. After the NBA's 1999 lockout, when players returned to a shortened season, there were so many players that were out of shape that the first few months of basketball were kind of horrible. That is why the NBA would potentially put this 25-day window in place. Once basketball comes back, they want a good product on the court. With that said, no matter when the season does come back, the NBA will likely be very different. The first major factor that could be in effect is, of course, a shortened schedule. Former Memphis Grizzlies executive John Hollinger stated that with the league's revenue taking a hit long-term due to this pandemic, we very well could be seeing schedules that are less than 82 games moving into future seasons. Another topic to consider along the terms of lost revenue is a potential way for the NBA to rebound. This could result into them adding an expansion team or two. Right now, when it comes to this discussion, Seattle and Vancouver seem like two potential options long-term. Seattle obviously misses their Supersonics, and Vancouver is a lot more prosperous as a city than the last time they had an NBA team in the Grizzlies. This is shown in an example right here, where you can see that in 2001, the average median income for Vancouver was $57,916, while in 2016, that number jumped all the way to $93,947. A return to Vancouver could make the NBA a lot of money. And the last major change we are going to discuss is what happens with the G League. As in an unprecedented move recently, a top high school prospect, Jalen Green, chose to skip college and go straight to the G League on a $500,000 contract. This is huge news and could essentially mean the end of top high school prospects going to college, as if the G League is already offering that much money for a single season in year one of this experiment, well, this type of offer is going to be hard to turn down for a lot of players. And as we've seen with players like Ben Simmons, a lot of guys do not want to go to college. They want to play professional basketball as soon as possible. So overall, there does seem to be a very real possibility that the NBA season is going to be saved, and that is very exciting news for everyone. However, at the same time, there are plenty of obstacles to overcome still. I discussed on this channel in an earlier video how the CBA, China's basketball league, was actually looking to restart their season around the same time the NBA suspended theirs. But there has proven to be some complications with that, as it was reported that the earliest possible start date for Chinese basketball is now July 1st, although an official decision on that matter will not be made until April 20th. Another challenge is definitely going to be NBA players being quarantined in hotels, as some of the bigger superstars in the league might not be down for that. LeBron James recently stated on the Road Trippin' podcast about this potential possibility that he was, quote, not down for that. LeBron also said he did not want to play with no fans either, but we have to keep in mind that the Lakers were very well in the title hunt before this season was suspended, and the allure of another ring might lead LeBron to change his mind. Also, these players are under contracts. I'm not a lawyer here, but I'm pretty sure if the NBA is able to play games, if the players refuse, that means they're going to be in breach of those contracts. So we'll stay tuned to see what happens if that's the case, because I'm sure the Players Association is going to have to be on board with what the NBA is presenting before the season can resume. Because at the end of the day, it seems like this pandemic is going to have both short and long-term effects on the NBA forever. Despite this though, all I want to say is please bring basketball back. This has been a very scary time, and I am sorry for anyone who's been affected by this disease or has had a family member affected by this disease. It would be nice to have basketball back to bring some happiness back into our lives.